Welcome everybody to Microsoft Outlook. We're going to be looking at some of the basics today. My name is Julie. I'll be your host for the next hour. Like I was saying earlier, I do have the chat open. So if you have any specific questions or you want me to go over something again, just type a message in there and I'd be happy to go over that with you. So what I have open right now is there's two different versions of Microsoft Outlook. You can use the web-based approach, or you can use the app. What I have open right now is the app. And I like the app a little bit better because, like I said earlier, it is part of the Microsoft suite. And at the top, you've got various ribbons. You've got your home ribbon, send and receive, folder, group, help, and so on. So it just reminds me a little bit more of Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint. And it also has the groups that are very similar to those applications as well. So we're just going to take a quick tour before we get into some of the specifics of Microsoft Outlook. If you look down the left-hand side, you have your navigation pane. So we have your favorites, and the favorites default to the inbox, sent items, drafts, and deleted items. Below that, you have different folders that I have created and some other options. You can add folders to the favorites, and I'll show you how to do that here in just a little bit. Down at the bottom, you have your navigation bar. So currently, it defaults to going into your email. You also have a calendar that you can set up. Your contacts, we're going to spend quite a bit of time in contacts showing you how to create contacts, how to create groups, how to import contacts, and some important things like that, just to save you a little bit of time when you're working with this specific technology. And then we have a to-do list. So those are just some of the basic tours. The first thing I want to do, in case you're in your app, I'm going to move from the home ribbon over here to the view ribbon. And underneath the layout group, you have some different ways to set up your email. So right now, I currently only have one email in my inbox. Just to let you know, it typically doesn't look like that. A couple of days ago, it looks like on September 5th, I moved hundreds of emails into that folder just to clean it up for this webinar. So I'm not usually this tidy of a person when it comes to email. So anyway, underneath layout, you have what's called a reading pane. So you can have that reading pane over on the right. You can see that this email is my reminder for the webinar today. So if you want to have the email pop up on your reading pane over on the right, you can select that option underneath view and layout. You can also have it at the bottom of your email, or you can turn it off. And that's what I prefer. In order to access the email, if you do have it off, what you're going to do is just double click on the email and it will pop up in a separate window. And I prefer that a little bit over some of the other options, mainly because I'm old school, and years ago they used to tell you, don't have these panes open in case somebody tries to send you a virus or they're phishing, whatever the case may be. So I usually just leave that reading pane off, and I double click to access my email. Certainly it is 100% up to you, but if you do want to change that layout, you're going to go into view and into layout, the layout group, and that will allow you to change your view. I'm going to go ahead and go back to the home ribbon. And we're just going to look at some of the basics of starting a new email. So on the home ribbon underneath the new group, I'm going to click on new email, and that's going to populate a new window for me. You can see that it also gives me various different groups that you may be familiar with. So the first thing that I need to do is I need to determine who am I going to send this email to. So if I start to type in an email address and it's somebody that I email on a regular basis or people that I've emailed recently, it will populate. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to click on Pat. We're going to get to CC and to BCC here in just a little bit. So I have formulated an email to send to my friend Pat. I'm just going to come down here to the subject area and okay, so I'm just telling her, and she's used to this, that this is an example email and she can ignore it. The other thing that I'm going to do is in the subject area, I am going to put in there EOM. And that stands for end of message. So if you just have something quick and short that you want to tell somebody, you can put it in the subject line. And then afterwards, I just put in there EOM for end of message so that they know that they don't need to actually open that particular email. So that's just a simple one to put together. I'm going to go ahead and click on send, and we'll send that off to Pat. I'm going to go ahead and click on new email again. Now, as I told you before, what I did was I populated her email address by just beginning to type in the email, and it generates a list of people that I have recently emailed. I'm going to go ahead, this time I'm going to come up and I'm going to click on my address book. And that is Metro's address book. So I just want my contacts. And you can see that I have several different contacts in here. I can go ahead and select from any one of these contacts. In the two, I can add as many folks as I want to. Now, depending on what you're trying to accomplish, keep in mind that when you send an email to someone and you add 3 or 4 names, perhaps these people don't know each other, you're sharing their personal information. You're sharing their email with somebody that they don't know. So in that case, what I typically do is I come down and I use the BCC, which stands for blind carbon copy. That way I'm not sharing personal information with others. The other reason that I like to do that if I'm sending out a large group email is that, and I know that this has happened to everybody, let's say that an email is sent out to 30, 40, 50 people. How many times do people click on reply to all when they reply back? I don't know about you, but my inbox is full enough. I don't need that reply back from 30 or 40 people saying, yes, I'll be there, no, whatever the case may be. So when you blind carbon copy people, that's a good way to handle that because there's no way for them to reply all back. They can reply back to you, but they can't reply to the entire group. Okay, so that's looking at my contacts. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cancel that. And we're just going to start another new email. I'll send one to myself and I will carbon copy. The CC stands for carbon copy. I'll go ahead and use my friend Pat again. If I click on the CC, it will bring up the blind carbon copy. So another reason that you might blind carbon copy someone would be the person that you're sending the email to, they can't see that you're sending it to somebody else. So if you're done with a project, maybe you're emailing your immediate boss, and then you're also telling someone else that you've got this project done. So it's just a way of a little bit of privacy, again, with that blind carbon copy. Okay, so the next thing I want to look at is we're going to go ahead and create another test email. So I'll go ahead and just put in here test email. And down in the body, I will just example of So this is an example of how to attach a file to an email. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up underneath the include group and I'm going to go to attach file. Now what this does is it brings up any recent files that I have used. I don't want to attach any of those. So what I'm going to do is I've got two different options. I can click on Browse Web Locations, and by that, it means, do you want to go to your OneDrive? And OneDrive is another application of Microsoft Office. OneDrive is their version of cloud computing. So you could take a file from that OneDrive. I'll go ahead and select my OneDrive, and it gives me all of the documents that I have saved in that OneDrive. We'll just go ahead and double click on book one. It says, do you want to share the link? Meaning that they would have access to the file in OneDrive or in your cloud computing, or you can attach it as a copy. I'll just go ahead and attach it as a copy, and it lists it right up at the top. I'm going to go back up to attach file again. And this time I'm going to go back. I just wanted to talk a little bit about sites. Microsoft Office also offers something called sites or teams that you can share information with. So those are your two options. You can also browse this PC. So I can browse out to my PC and select any one of these items to attach to my PC. So you've got a couple of different ways that you can attach items within Microsoft Outlook. Okay, so when you're ready to send, I'm just going to go ahead and click on send. And one of the nice things about Outlook is that if I don't put a subject in, let's say that I just created email, and we'll just say EO, whoops, I don't want to say EOM. We'll say hi, Pat. When I go to send this email, when I click on send, if there's no subject, it does stop me and it says, wait a second. Do you really want to send this message without a subject? And personally, I always want a subject in there for myself, because if I'm searching for that email at a later date, or just to let the person that I'm sending it to know what the email is all about, I always like to put a subject in there. So I'm just going to say don't send, and we'll put in there this is just another example. Same with, if I put in here, here is the attached file I referred to earlier. If I put in there that I'm referring to an attachment and I don't attach anything, I click on send, it says, wait a second, have you forgotten to attach something? Which is very nice, because I can't tell you how many times I've emailed somebody and they emailed me back and said, that's great, but you didn't send the attachment. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on don't send, and we'll spare Pat's inbox a little bit and just cancel out of that. No, I don't need to save those. So when you're creating the emails, those are a few of your different options. I'm going to go ahead and click on new email again. You may have noticed that every time that I create an email, it comes down and it says Best Julie Hamilton Dort. That is my signature. So if you want to create a signature in Microsoft Outlook, underneath the include group, you can click on the down arrow, and you can have as many signatures as you want to. This signature is simply called Julie. If I want to create another one, I can click on signatures. You can go ahead and change this to Have a great day. So I'm just adding a new one. So now I have two different signatures. I have Julie and I have a great day. I can go ahead and click on OK. And now when I click on the down arrow, I can select have a great day or Julie. Now the key to this is the very first time that you create that signature and you go to send something, it doesn't include the signature. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on great day. And I will send an email to myself. Just put in here signature and send. And that will pop in here in just a second. There we go. In order to, I heard the sound that I received a new email, but it didn't populate to my inbox right away. So what I did was I moved from the home ribbon over to the send receive, and I clicked on send receive all files just to force that email to come in. So I'm going to go ahead and open this email up, and you can see that there is indeed no signature. So we'll go ahead and close that. And I will create another new one. And we'll tell it that we want great day to be the signature. Hopefully I did that before. And we'll click on send. And send received. Did I send that to a different account? I may have. Oh, there it is. I'm just being a little bit too impatient today. There we go. Well, it didn't go through. Let me try this one more time. Nothing like technology not working when you're in front of a group. Okay, so there's have a great day. So there's a sign that my signature is in there. It just took me a couple of different emails to get it to populate. We'll go ahead and send this again. And hopefully the third time's a charm, right? Come on. It'll come through here in just a second. There we go. And there it is. So you can have as many signatures as you would like within any one of your emails. Just looking at some of the other options that you have when you're sending emails, we looked at the include group, we looked at the name group. You can jazz up your text a little bit with text basics, same options that you would have in Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint. Underneath tags, you can send an email with high importance. If you need somebody to respond to you right away or within a timely fashion, I would use that with caution. Sometimes I get emails that are sent with high importance, and I think this really isn't a high importance email. So again, use that with your discretion. One of the things that I really like about Microsoft Outlook is that you can create an email and tell it to send at a later time. So you can tell it to send in 4 hours, in the morning, in 4 days, whatever the case may be. So if you want to get an email ready to go, maybe it's 1:19, maybe you don't want it to go out until later this afternoon, until businesses are closing. You might want to just tell it to send in 4 hours or give it a suggested time. So those are some nice features of sending emails in Microsoft Outlook. You can also dictate So if you don't want to sit here and type, it is voice activated. I can go ahead and click on dictate, and it will begin to type whatever I say. It's pretty accurate, as you can see. Period. This is a question, question mark. So we can go ahead and turn that off. And you can see that you can use that dictate, which if you've got a lengthy email and you're not a fan of the keyboard, that's always a nice option. Very similar to Siri or some other options that you have. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close that email. I don't need to save that one. We're going to come down to the bottom and look at some of these other options now. I'm going to go ahead and click on my calendar, and you can see that on my calendar I had one option I put on here, our webinar that we're in today. You can look by view by day, so I can look at just today, September 11th. Heather, I see your question. I'm going to have you email me that question. I would have to look into probably into file and some of the options, but I will definitely get back to you on if you're. The question was if you're not seeing the question populate. Let me go ahead and go back to email and to new email. If dictate is grayed out, it means a couple of different, it could mean that you don't have a microphone hooked up to your PC, or it could be that it is turned off in the options of Microsoft Outlook, but we'll definitely get that taken care of for you. Okay, let me go ahead and go back to calendar. As I was saying, underneath the arrange group, you can look at the day, you can look at just the work week, you can look at the week, you can look at the month, and you can look at just what you have scheduled. Kind of depends on what you like to look at. Typically, I turn it just on the entire week. You can see that it has the forecast up here for me. That's included. That's a freebie. So I'm looking much forward to tomorrow, as obviously today with the sun finally coming back out tomorrow. You can very easily go from month to month. So I'm going to go ahead and click on month, and you can go from month to month. If you're like me, sometimes I don't remember when I held that meeting or when I did the, some professional development. So I have to go back through my calendar and look. And one of the really nice things about Outlook in the calendar is that if you can just remember a few things about that meeting or what you're looking for. Let's say that I'm looking for the date that I had a meeting with Luann Himes. So I'm going to go ahead and type in Luann Himes. I'm going to click on search, and it tells me that I did a lunch and learn with Luann on 5/8 of 2020. And you can go ahead and double click on that, but that's nice because you can find items very quickly within the calendar by using that search. Okay, so if I want to add a new item, let's say that maybe next Tuesday I want to add an item, and usually what I do is I just click on the date itself. And when you double click on it, it brings up another window allowing you to title. So I can just say, lunch with Mary, and I can put a time in there. So this is not going to be an all-day event. That is what it defaults to. You can go ahead and say maybe 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. and then a location. You don't necessarily have to put a location in there. If it's a physical location, you can put it in there. If you, Outlook does allow you to do Skype meetings, so Skype is built into the Outlook calendar. I don't currently have that up and running right now, so if I click on it, it's just going to give me an error message saying that it's not set up. So we won't do that. But if you do have Skype set up on your PC, that's all you'll need to do is click on Skype meeting. It will automatically put a Skype location in there so that next Tuesday at 11 a.m. or a few minutes beforehand, you'll get a reminder email saying, hey, you have lunch with Mary in 10 minutes or in half an hour. It depends on how you set it up, in the physical location or the location of the web meeting. So we'll just go ahead and click on Save and Close. That will populate to my calendar, and it's as simple as that to add items into your calendar. Okay, let me go back to lunch with Mary, because I forgot to do one important thing. I forgot to invite Mary. So I'm going to go ahead, and I don't have a Mary in here. We'll go ahead and click on Pat again and put her in there. If people are required to go to the meeting, you can see that there's two different levels. You've got required and you've got optional. So you can put that in. When you click on send, it will send each one of the participants this email. They can choose to say yes, maybe, or no, and there will be an option for them. If they're saying no, maybe given a reason why they're not attending the meeting. So we'll go ahead and send that away. So that's a little bit about setting up your calendar. The next thing that I wanted to look at was contacts. And this is very, very important because this can save you a lot of time. I've got a lot of contacts in here that I actually don't want because I'm going to show you how to bring them in via Microsoft Excel. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to delete some of these. To delete contacts within Microsoft Outlook, you can do one of two things. I can delete them one at a time. So I clicked on David Hamilton. I can go ahead and just hit the delete key on my keyboard. But if I have a lot of items that I want to delete, and this same example is good for your email. If I hold down the control key, I can select more than one item at once. As a matter of fact, the control key also allows me to select non-adjacent items. So in other words, I didn't want to delete Julie and I didn't want to delete Pat Moss, but I wanted to delete Kathy Moss. So by holding down that control key, it allowed me to select non-adjacent items. I'm going to go ahead and just deselect those for a second. And if you want to select items that are in a row, you can use the shift key. But watch what happens if I come down here to click on Kathy Moss. It also includes the two in between, the Julie and the Pat Moss, and I don't want to delete those. So the shift key will allow you to select multiple items in a row. The control key will allow you to select non-adjacent items. So just go ahead and select those four people. We'll hit the delete key and they are gone. All right, so to create a new contact, over here underneath the new group, if I click on new contact, it populates this window for me. And I can go ahead and I can type in this information. So maybe I'm going to add in my friend Sheena. And Sheena is actually a Metropolitan Community College employee. So it will be very easy for me to find her email. In addition, she's a person that I email quite frequently. So I can put in more details here. I can put in that, she is an academic advisor. Her middle name, her last name, And you can add this at any time that you want to. You can go in and edit this. I'm just going to go ahead and click on save, and you can see that it added that information underneath her full name, and that actually should be underneath job title. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that out of there and put it in a job title. And you can also see that we're building a business card over here. So the more information that you have, the more information that you input, the more information that's going to be on the business card. And I'll show you the importance of that here in just a little bit. So I'm going to come over here to email. And as I said, I email Sheena, so she's going to be in my recents, or she's going to populate very easily for me. So you just go ahead and double click. Note that it added her email address to the business card, and I can continue to add information if I want to, but I'm done. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on save and close, and it adds Sheena into my list of contacts. So let's go ahead and create one more new contact. And I'm just going to put Nathan in here. And Nathan is someone that I email quite frequently as well for the continuing education department at MCC. So we'll go ahead and add Nathan in there. I don't need any other information. We'll just go ahead and click on save and close. And the reason that I wanted to add Nathan is because if you've got a group of people that you frequently email, you can see that underneath the new, you can create a new contact group. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select that, and I'm going to put Nathan in here. All right, why isn't he populating? Let's do it this way. Let's go to add new members, and we'll do it from my Outlook contacts. So it gives me a list here. I can do it a little bit faster this way, so I can tell it that I want Nathan to be in there, and I want Pat to be in there, and I want Pat Moss to be in there. So I've added 3 people. When I click on OK, what I need to do now is name, and I'm going to put in here MCC and then CC, continuing education. So I've created my new group. I have 3 different people in there. When I click on save and close, it creates that group for me. So what's going to happen is if I go back to my email and I create a new email, now all I have to do is start to type in MC, and I can create that group. Now, if I want to see who's currently in that group, I can click on the plus sign, and it will show me the various members. So it shows me that I have Nathan, that I have Pat Smith and Pat Moss in my group. Don't really need to email them right now, so I'll go ahead and just close that. We won't save it. We're going to come back down to contacts. And we'll go back to MCC. So let's say that perhaps you want to add somebody into that group, or you want to delete somebody from that group. I'm going to go ahead and just select PMOS 3 and hit the delete key on my keyboard, or you could click on remove member, and that member is removed. I can also add a new member from my contacts. One of the things that I like to do is I like to include myself on email, so I can CC myself, or I can include myself in this group, so I don't need to carbon copy. And I can just click on OK. I can update my group, go ahead and save and close it again. When I come back to my email and new, this time when I send a group to MCC and look at the group, you can see that I have myself, I have Nathan, and I have Patricia Smith in there. So that's a nice way of saving yourself a little bit of time underneath the contacts. I wanted to spend a few moments just sharing with you some other ways that you can import people into your contacts very, very easily. So if I have a group, I'm going to go ahead, I have another window open here, so I'm going to minimize this, and I want to share with you an Excel workbook that I put together. Typically, I use this for a mail merge between Microsoft Word and Excel, but you can also use it to import people into your contacts. So what I've done with Microsoft Excel is I've just created some fields, first name, last name, address, city, state, phone number, email. You can include anything else in there that you want to, more phone numbers, websites, whatever the case may be. You can put as much information in here as you'd like and use it for, two different reasons. In this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use it to import all of this data into my Microsoft Outlook contacts. Now, the one thing that I need to do before it will import is I need to go to File and to Save As. And the reason for that is that if I'm going to import this data into Microsoft Outlook, it has to be a CSV file format. And the CSV is a comma separated values. So I'm just going to go ahead and select that. I'm going to click on Save. You can see that my extension is now .csv rather than XSL. I'll go ahead and close this up and just show you that I now have two files. They're just two different file formats. One is a Microsoft Excel worksheet. The other is my comma separated values. So when I go back to Outlook, what I'm going to do is come over here to File. And this is kind of the behind the scenes is what you're going to go to File for. When I go to File, I'm going to click on Open and Export. And that gives me 4 different options. And what I want to select is this third one down, the Import and Export. So when I click on that, it comes up and it says, okay, choose an action to perform. You've got several different options here. Some of those are for later seminars, but what we want to do is we want to import from another program or file. So it defaulted to that. I'm going to go ahead and click on Next. And now it says that you have a comma separated values file, or do you have an Outlook data file? And we have the CSV file format. So we're going to go ahead and click on Next. And then it says, okay, if there's somebody in here that's already there, do you want to duplicate that person, or do you want to replace the duplicates with the new import? I'm just going to go ahead and tell it to replace. There shouldn't be anybody in here that would be a duplicate, but I prefer that option. Now what I need to do is I need to click on Browse, and I'm going to browse out to my desktop. I'll go ahead and back this up a little bit. I'm just going to go back to my desktop, and my file that we just saved as the CSV is in a folder called Outlook Webinar. So I'll go ahead and double click on that, and it shows me my file. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Address Book Example. I can either double click on that or click on it once and click on OK. And it's now loaded that information from Excel of the CSV file into my Outlook account. So when I click on Next, it says, okay, where do you want to put this information? And I want this information in my contacts. Microsoft Outlook is very savvy. It knew that that's where I wanted it. That's where it defaulted to. So we're just going to leave it on contacts. We're going to go ahead and click on next. Now, and this is a very important part of bringing this information in, because sometimes the fields aren't going to match up. So we need to click on Map Custom Fields. And when I do that, and this window isn't very big, so I will scroll through there slowly, you can see that it has all of the different fields that we saw when we added just a new contact. So if I click, there's a plus next to name. If I click on that, it tells me that these two fields matched up. So the first name and the last name matched up just perfect, which is great. However, as I start to scroll down, I'm going to go ahead and click on home address, and home address or home street and address don't match up. So I need to go ahead and click and hold down on address, and I'm just going to drag and drop that over across from home street and address. So I've now mapped those two. So in the field for home street within Microsoft Outlook, it's going to bring in the field address from my Excel or my CSV file. So I'm going to go ahead and scroll down. Again, home city, we need to replace with just city. Home state is going to be state, and home postal code is going to be our zip code. So again, I'm just matching these up. If you don't match these up, then the information will not come through. You know, remember that when we first started, the only thing that matched up was first name and last name, and that's all the information that would be moved into my contacts from the CSV file. So we also have phone number. So I'm just going to scroll down, and either you can put business phone in there, or there is a home phone. I thought that was kind of funny because not many of us have home phones anymore. And mobile phone, there is also an option for car phone in here. I must have scrolled past it, which I also got a little bit of a chuckle out of. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take phone number. I'm going to drag and drop it to mobile phone. And then we'll just go ahead and scroll down a little bit further. And I should have, there's birthday, email, there we go. And we want email actually matched up, so I don't need to do that one. Okay, so now we've mapped all of the fields from our Excel or our CSV workbook to Microsoft Outlook. I'm going to go ahead and click on OK, and we'll click on Finish because we've got everything mapped. When I click on Finish, all of these people just came in. So let's go ahead and take a look at David. So you can see everything that we mapped: his first name, his last name, his email address, his phone number, his address, city, state, and zip. They all came through, and they also created a business card for us. So we've got all of these different people. So if I wanted to take all of these people and create a new group, I'm just going to go ahead and click on New Contact Group and call this Hamilton Family. And I can go ahead and click on Add My Contacts. So I can very easily just double click on each one that I want in this group, click on OK, and now when I go to email, I don't need to type in these 5 different email addresses. I can just start to type in Hamilton in the email. It will populate and send to everybody in that group. Okay, so I now have 2 different groups, and I have various individuals in here. So let's say that I want to send a business card. So I'm going to come over to home again. We'll go back over to our email. We're going to create a new email. Let me see. I must be in the wrong spot. Sorry about that. So let's come back to people. All right, we'll move on. Just for I'll come back to this. For some reason, I'm not seeing what I need to right now, but we will come back to this. The next thing that I wanted to talk about was creating a to-do list. So this is nice if you have multiple things that you need to do today, next week, over the weekend, whatever the case may be. You know, I usually write everything down on a piece of paper and then scratch it off. But you can also, within Microsoft Outlook, you can create different tasks. Maybe my tasks over on today will be to email Lori. And if I hit the enter key, it puts that in a task that I need to do today. The little red flag is a priority flag. So I can either come up to current view, or I can right click and I can say, okay, I'm not going to do this today. I need to do this next week. I can change that. You know, you can add a reminder to go in and do that. So the to-do list is just nice. It's got different tasks in there too. You can see that I was messing around with it. So I have the 101 tips and tricks done. I evidently went to Walmart on the 27th. So it looks like I've got those items done. So you can add things to your to-do list and they will populate over here, or you can click on tasks and they will populate below that. Okay, let's go back for a second to email, because at the beginning, I said that you can add things to your favorites and you can move things around. So let's say that I want to add a new folder underneath my group. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come over to my email address. I'm going to go ahead and right click. And I'm going to highlight new folder and left click. It says, okay, what do you want to call this? And I'll just call it Julie and hit the enter key. And you can see that now I have a Julie folder. There's nothing in it. When I click on it, it is indeed empty. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to my inbox. And I can drag and drop emails into there. So if you're done with them, but you don't want to delete them, just like the filing system on your PC or your Mac, you can create folders down here and save emails so that you can find them very easily. Now, if you don't want to drag and drop them one at a time, which I can certainly understand why you wouldn't want to do that, the same applies where you can hold down the shift key to select numerous emails, or you can hold down the control key to select non-adjacent items. Now, if you have 10, 20, 30, 100 emails that you want to move from point A to point B, you can also do a control A, which is the universal select all. On a PC, right off the top of my head, I don't remember what the control A is or the select all is on a Mac. And then they are highlighted, so I can drag and drop them down into my folder. If I double click on my folder, there are my 4 different emails. Let's say that I want the Julie folder to be underneath my favorites. There's 2 ways that I can move that up. I can either drag and drop that, see that little black line, it's indicating that it's going to place that folder underneath my favorites. I can let up on that. It will move it up there. Perhaps I want Talia up there as well. Another way to accomplish this is to right click and tell it to add to my favorites. So I can click on add to favorites and it moved it up. Same way that I moved these folders up, I can drag and drop them back down. Or I can right click and tell it to remove from my favorites. Now that's not removing it from your email. You're not deleting the folder. You're simply removing it from your favorites. If you want to delete the folder, you can right click and delete the folder forever. As a matter of fact, I don't need this, so I'll go ahead and just click on delete folder, and yes, and that's gone. Okay. Any questions? I'm gonna stop for a second. We've got a little bit of time left. I just wanted to see if anybody had any questions other than the dictate. Okay, let me go back. I don't see any questions popping up. So I'm going to go back to the sending the business card. Let me go back for a second to the contacts and show you how to email a business card. Okay, so if I go into a particular person, so if I go into David Hamilton and I want to forward this to somebody, I can click on send as a business card and then choose who to send it to. And I'll just send it to myself so that you can see that. And that will send that information to a particular person. So if somebody needs their contact information, it will send them this business card. All right, folks, if you don't have any other questions, here is my email address. You can use my Metro email address to send me questions pertaining to the dictate in Outlook and making that contact. I'll make sure that I get back to you in a timely fashion. I hope that you found this session to be valuable. I appreciate you spending some of your time with me on a Friday afternoon. Have a great weekend, and we'll hope to see you in another webinar soon. Bye, all.